Hello, I'm James and we've come to Dungeness B power station and I'm wearing a visibility jacket and helmet and gloves and earphones. And we've just had a big safety tour and there's policemen with big guns. We're now going to go out and do a tour of the power station. I'm feeling excited but a little bit nervous. We've just walked round the site and it's very cold, but now we're going to go into the reactor building and see the nuclear reactor.
I'm Martin Pearson and I'm the station director at Dungeness B power station.
What makes something nuclear?
Well, all forms of electricity are produced by different sources. So obviously coal, we use coal to produce electricity from coal. So nuclear is about the nuclear fuel, and that's the difference between this power station and a coal power station or a gas power station. Is we use nuclear fuel to generate the heat inside the reactor. And then after that, in terms of turning water into steam, it's exactly the same as any other power station in the world. But the nuclear bit comes from using nuclear fuel to generate the heat.
Do you need a special chemical to make something nuclear?
Not specifically. The fuel arrives to us as new fuel on the back of a lorry. It's given to us in that way and then we put it in the reactor. But the actual process of digging it out of the ground, because uranium comes as a natural ore, you just dig it out of the ground. The process of making that into the fuel that arrives on the power station, some chemicals are used, but that's used at the plant near Preston where they make the fuel for us.
Why do we need nuclear energy?
Well, nuclear energy is a low-carbon source, so it doesn't damage the environment in terms of climate change. It's cheap to operate, and it's an abundant source of a natural occurring element, if you like. So there's about 70 or 80 years of uranium left to dig out in various places around the world. So that's why we use nuclear energy. But like most countries, it's good to have a good mix of different energies. So nuclear roughly provides about 20% of the UK's electricity, but then we have coal and gas and renewables, and we've seen the increase in wind farms recently across the UK. So it's good to have a mix, so you're not reliant on any one specific energy source.
Should we worry about nuclear energy?
Well, one of the things that we do here at Dungeness B and across the UK fleet and internationally is, we have a value that nuclear safety is our overriding priority. So there will be people who have concerns about nuclear power, particularly when they look at some accidents that have happened around the world, maybe 3 Mile Island in America or Chernobyl in the Ukraine, or more recently in Fukushima in Japan. But I think in terms of what we've done here and across the fleet, and the industry is no different, is we learn from each of these events and make our plants even safer, day to day, week by week, month by month and year by year, and that's exactly what we do here. Dungeness B has operated for over 30 years on this site, very safely, and that's what we'll continue to do for a good couple of decades to come, hopefully.
I'm standing in the viewing gallery looking over at the reactor. It's about 3 pitches long and there's a big tube in the middle with lots of ladders. What do you do with nuclear waste?
Well, what we do with the waste that comes from this power station is it goes into our ponds. We have a big tank of borated water that's called our ponds. So that's where the irradiated fuel goes after it's been in the reactor for many years. And then that goes into a 55-ton flask, which is the big white flasks that you might see around the country on the rail network. And we send that to Sellafield in Cumbria. And they reprocess it. They store it at Sellafield at the moment, and the UK government hasn't decided yet what the long-term storage is, but it may be a repository, an underground storage facility, and that's what they're consulting on at the moment. So at the moment the waste that leaves here is reprocessed at Sellafield in Cumbria, and that's where they store it.
How do you make sure that the power station won't blow up?
Okay. Well, first of all, the design of the power station means it can't do that. I know we look at Simpsons and things and see all sorts of comical things, but it just can't do that. It's not designed to do that. We've got various safety features, so if anything's wrong, the unit automatically trips, and that means the control rods just fall in under gravity and stop the fission reaction straight away. And just to give you an idea, if we're at full load and the thermal power is 1500 megawatts, within a couple of minutes that's down to 150 megawatts. So we get rid of 90% of the thermal energy within a couple of minutes when the rods drop in, and then we provide cooling to the boilers, etc., over the next few hours and few days to maintain safety in that respect. And we've got many backup systems in case systems don't work or whatever. So most of the power station is built around safety and the backups to all of those systems as well.
Are houses that are powered by nuclear power any different to houses powered by other sources of energy?
No, well, the electricity that we produce from the power station is exactly the same as that would be produced by any other, energy source, whether it be wind, coal, gas, etc. It's only the heat that we generate from a nuclear source that's different. So the national grid system provides electricity to us all, businesses and customers, and it's exactly the same. So there isn't such a thing as a nuclear home in that sense. All we say is from this power station we generate enough electricity to supply 1.5 million homes in Kent and West Sussex with low carbon electricity, but that goes on to the grid system like any other generator would as well.
Is Dungeness B closing down? Where will we get our energy from?
Well, eventually all power stations close down. The current lifetime for Dungeness B is 2018. However, we'll announce at the end of this year, the end of 2014, about our lifetime extension, and if that's successful, then we'll operate for up to another 10 years, so potentially up to 2028, and then we'll shut down, and that will be replaced by other power stations that are coming on. And within EDF Energy, we're building Hinkley Point C that's due to come on in the mid-2020s, and that will again just connect to the grid and be another energy source for 60 years.
I'm just about to go into the turbine and you can hear it's really noisy, and that's why I've got my ear defenders on. How easy is it to get a job at the power station?
Well, it's like most things. We have an apprentice scheme, so people can apply for that. We have over 350 young people apply for that every year for 6 or 7 jobs. The company has a graduate scheme, so if you've been to university and you've got jobs, you can get jobs through that. And we also have many contract partners who do various jobs for us that get most of their resource from the local community, and sometimes they come in as contract partners and then join EDF Energy as part of the site team, and we do quite often advertise locally as well. So you have to look out in all the usual local papers and all the press cuttings and what have you, and work hard at school and get a decent job here.
Mm-hmm. Do I need to be good at science to get a job?
If you want to be a scientist or an engineer, then that would certainly help. But if you think of the power station as a little community, we haven't just got scientists and engineers. We've got catering, we've got training, we've got craftsmen who overhaul the plant, we've got operators, we've got admin staff, and etc. So it's a very wide ranging. I've got 550 people that work for me here permanently, and 200 contract partners who, this is their place of work. So nearly 800 people every day, call their place of work Dungeness B, and there's a number of other people supporting off-site. So it's not just about the scientific piece. Clearly we're a nuclear power station, so we need lots of scientists and engineers and that side of things, but there are jobs for other people as well.
What's the future for nuclear energy?
Well, I've just mentioned that, if everything goes well, then we'll announce a lifetime extension in December this year, up to 2028. The nuclear energy piece in the UK is growing quite fast, so within our own company, EDF Energy, we're looking to build 2 new reactors at Hinkley Point in Somerset, and then 2 in Sizewell in Suffolk. And then there's another couple of companies that are looking to build new nuclear power stations at Wilver in Anglesey and at Oldbury and near Bristol, and another company may be looking to build some in Sellafield in Cumbria. So in terms of the nuclear energy in this country, it's certainly looking very positive.
I'm now in the control room simulator and it looks very confusing, but this is how people train to work in the nuclear power station. They do lots of training exercises here so they can run the power station safely. Finally, does nuclear energy actually glow green?
Well, that's a good question. It doesn't glow in the reactor, but there is a phenomena that when we take out the used fuel, the irradiated fuel, and we put it in our ponds, you can see a very light sort of green-bluish sort of tinge. So that's probably where that's come from. And there's a scientist, and I can't remember his name at the moment, who discovered this particular thing that you can see. So that would be in our ponds, but it's not in the traditional way of seeing something really glow green. But you can see a very on top of the fuel. You can see a little, green blue, haze.
Thank you for your time.
You're very welcome. Thank you.